Welcome to Close Listening. I'm Zach Morgenstern, joined as always by silent co-host Ludwig von B. And today we are talking about the album Trouble in Shangri-La by Stevie Nicks. This album comes out in 2001, and given that Stevie Nicks is an artist who achieved fame with Fleetwood Mac in the 70s, one might view this as a latter career project, someone who's already achieved what she's going to achieve. But in actuality, this feels more like a middle of her prime kind of album. Stevie Nicks is someone who didn't get discovered right away. She and Lindsey Buckingham had to be recruited into this pre-existing band, Fleetwood Mac. And then with Fleetwood Mac, because you essentially have three singer-songwriters with three different styles in Buckingham, Nicks, and Christine McVie, each only gets to do so much. So by the time 2001 comes around, this is only her sixth solo album. And that's also due to a Klonopin addiction that kind of caused her writer's block for a while. And that gets documented on here. So no, this is not a legacy album. This is an album by an artist still finding themselves. This album also feels like it's two concepts fused together. Maybe they work, maybe they don't. One is Stevie Nicks kind of doing a country album with Sheryl Crow, and I suppose to a lesser extent the Dixie Chicks having some influence on here. And the other is her recording some songs from earlier in her career, as well as songs broadly with that Fleetwood Mac era hippie sound. I kind of prefer the latter to the country stuff, but it's kind of interesting to see it coming together. Track one is the title track, Trouble in Shangri-La. And I realized when I got this, maybe this is common knowledge, that I didn't know what Shangri-La was. I'd always assumed it was a real city somewhere, but apparently it comes from a novel and it's this utopian monastery. So Trouble in Shangri-La just means trouble in utopia. The song itself is a somewhat non-linear history of a relationship, kind of reminiscent of Bob Dylan's Tangled Up in Blue, like in its lyric structure, not in its sound. And this might be a song where knowing the specifics of Stevie Nicks's biography could be helpful, but she's said various things in interviews over the year about the song that are helpful enough. It's kind of it's a warning about fame despite the illusion from the outside. And by using this sort of mysterious metaphor of Shangri-La, Nicks is emphasizing that fame is something that few people on the outside would understand. It has this innate, mysterious, inaccessible, otherworldly quality. Track number two is called Candle Bright. And if you look at the lyrics to both this and Trouble in Shangri-La, they look quite conceptually similar. So now I'm really thinking about Bob Dylan's Blood on the Tracks album, and I guess the relationship between Tangled Up in Blue and Simple Twist of Fate. Both on this album and that one, we have cases of songs that sound fairly different musically, yet are both exploring similar concepts. This is also a non-linear account of a turbulent relationship that uses kind of mystical imagery. It compares love to a candle. It says love is not friendship. Love is admiration for something so bright, and something so bright can also hurt you. So track number three is called Sorcerer. Now, the unfortunate comparison for me with this one is Blake Shelton's bro country song, All the Boys Around Here Drinking Their Ice Cold Beer, because there's this little break where you have this harmonizing country trio singing a bit, and it kind of reminds me of the sound of that part. It sounds like backup singers singing. It doesn't always fully sound like a lead singer singing.
Sorcerer, along with Candle Bright and track 4, Planets of the Universe, actually dates back to the 70s, two of them older than even Fleetwood Mac, so this next comparison doesn't quite make sense. That said, I can hear Sorcerer as kind of a reimagining of Disney's The Little Mermaid,
where we hear Ariel's inner monologue and she's about to sign her deal with Ursula. And on the one hand, it's painfully obvious that Ursula is not to be trusted, but the desire for that change allows Ariel to willfully ignore that. Track number four is called Planets of the Universe. This one feels like a spiritual sequel to the Fleetwood Mac song Rhiannon. It sounds kind of similar musically, though a bit more slowed down, and then, for better or for worse, a more contemporary electronic sounding drum beat in the background. And it mixes in those kind of quasi-spiritual messages about us being very small in the cosmos and the universe, while also cursing at an ex-partner, almost like Mercutio style, a plague on all your houses. Track number 5 is called Every Day. This one is not written by Nicks. It's by John Shanks and Damon Johnson, but still there's kind of a vaguely witchy feel to it, though less. It's not too psychedelic. It feels more like, I don't know, Bittersweet Symphony by the Verve or There She Goes by the Laws. But insofar as it's related to the previous songs, you get the sense of someone who's been in a turbulent, not always happy relationship and just trying to calm down, breathe. Track number 6 is Too Far from Texas by Steve Booker and Sandy Stewart. This is a break from Mysterious Emotions, and it's just an outright catchy country troubled love song. Track number 7 is called That Made Me Stronger. So this is the one where the autobiographical part is most clearly stated. It's a thank you song to Tom Petty because he was the one who pushed Stevie Nicks in this writer's block period. No, don't turn to external writers. You know, you made yourself as a songwriter. You'll be most grateful if you actually write the songs on this project. So it's a very cool song historically, and it mixes a kind of psychedelic sounding verse with a contemporary country sounding chorus. I'm not sure I love the sound of it in the end, but it's an interesting combination and there's an interesting story behind it. The mark that Tom Petty had on Stevie Nicks is undoubted. I actually saw her in concert recently, and she does a cover of Free Falling as well as this Tom Petty song she recorded, Stop Dragging My Heart Around. It's clear that they were great friends, and she's a great admirer of his music. So it almost felt like I got to see two legends in concert at once. Track number 8 is called It's Only Love. It's written by Sheryl Crow, who played a big role behind the scenes on this project. This one sounds a bit different musically in that it mostly is just the acoustic guitar, though there's some subtle, mysterious keyboard in the background. Again, as the theme has been on this album, it's about the cost of being in relationship with interesting people. It's almost saying that the cost of people being interesting is that they're also going to be more difficult to get along with. Track number 9 is called Love Changes. This is a more conventional account of a relationship failing compared to the sort of non-linear, metaphor-rich songs we've heard earlier on this record. The one thing that's kind of mystical, magical here is a suggestion that the singer says that she saw the end of this relationship coming, whatever that means. Track number 10 is called I Miss You. This is a sweet, flowing love song with some mild synth accents thrown in there. The affectionate chorus consists of questions about, well, the themes we've heard song after song on this album. And so, again, another kind of melancholy relationship song, but this one sung from a place of hope. Track number 11 is a flamenco-ish song called Bombay Sapphires. And this could very well be the song that inspires the very cool cover photo here. And the sort of distinct thing this one brings to the album is in it, the singer appears to be committing to loving nature because people are too volatile, whereas nature in its own way is consistent and can be trusted. Track number 12 is called Fall from Grace. So if there's a unifying mysticism, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, to this album, it's the tension between only seeing magic in the natural world and turning to that for hope versus actually trying to see the magic within people, flawed as this may be. How it comes to play out in this song is this is a singer who fancies herself as wise, as someone who has a sense of the big picture of the pitfalls of humans. But despite her wisdom, despite her kindness, despite seemingly coming into a relationship with all this preparedness, still ends up with the tragedy of the singers on all the previous songs. This album ends with a song called Love Is. And yeah, the themes on this one don't change. It's a song that looks to the future with pessimism. It admires the power of a love interest, knowing that that could end in disappointment. I guess the conclusion of this album accepts that there's no real resolution to the problems raised on it. Life is built around disappointment, around volatility, and it's going to produce a lot of sad songs. And maybe the best we can do is just appreciate the art we get out of the sadness. So overall, it does feel like this record is a bit repetitive, but a lot of the songs viewed individually, Trouble in Shangri-La, Candle Bright, Planets of the Universe, Bombay Sapphires, approach the idea of heartbreak in a very interesting way with these haunting, mysterious metaphors, where you sense the singer is telling you about specific events in her life, and you're not going to have any idea what those are, but the metaphors are engaging nonetheless. And of course, there are songs on here that work as just conventional hits, like Every Day and Too Far from Texas. Overall, a very interesting release. So let me know your thoughts on the imagery in this one, whether it's best appreciated knowing some of the autobiographical details or the mysteriousness is kind of the point. I'm Zach Morgenstern. This is Ludwig von B. See you next time.